This presentation is about the elements and principles of design. The elements and principles are the parts and techniques that make up all works of art. So what else are they? The elements of design are the parts that make up the piece. They are the structure and they carry the design elements of the art. The principles of design are aesthetic concepts that are used to portray the subject and meaning behind a work of art. The first element is line. Lines are made up by moving dots. Lines can also be used to convey emotion in artwork. Horizontal lines are peaceful or restful. Vertical lines are used to create a feeling of dominance and spirituality. Diagonal lines are used to create a feeling of movement and tension. Because they're neither horizontal nor vertical, they give the feeling that they're about to fall. In 2 dimensions, diagonal lines are used to illustrate perspective and to create space. When horizontal and vertical lines are used together, they convey stability. Softly curved lines express comfort, familiarity, and relaxation. They're reminiscent of the human body, and therefore they are aesthetically pleasing. Angled curves, however, suggest confusion and frenzy. The second element is form and space. Form is a shape, and in order to be a shape, it has to be contained in space. In the image, the puzzle piece depression is creating what's called negative space, meaning that it creates the shape of a puzzle piece, but it's empty. The next element is movement. Movement can be both literal and figurative. In the photograph, the movement is literal because the photo was taken while a train passed. Before photography, movement was shown using diagonal lines and by positioning the parts of the image in ways that conveyed movement. The next element is color. Color is used in many ways because it can have many different meanings. Red is associated with feelings of passion, energy, anger, or violence. Orange suggests approachability and informality. Yellow is optimistic and upbeat. It can become overwhelming if used too much. Green suggests life, restfulness, and stability, but it can also represent decay, toxicity, and artificiality. Blue suggests coolness, spirituality, and elegance, but it can also imply sadness or depression. Violet is the color of fantasy and playfulness, but it can also represent nightmares or madness. The next element is texture. There are many types of visual texture: rough, hard, smooth, soft, and sometimes even wet and dry. Texture can either be real, like in this photo, or imaginary, like in a painting of fabric. The next element is direction. Direction uses line to convey meaning. In the image, the diagonal line suggests chaos, while it also draws the viewer's eye back into the picture plane. Proportion is a principle of design. Proportion is the relationship between size and scale of the elements in a design. This relationship can be between objects, parts, or the whole. The next principle is balance. Balance creates visual stability. In 3-dimensional objects, if there isn't balance, the object falls over. In 2-dimensional objects, there are different types of balance. Symmetrical balance, which is also called formal balance, is equal weight on both sides of the picture plane. Approximate symmetry is similar to formal balance, but the objects in the balance aren't the same. Asymmetrical balance, also called informal balance, is placing objects in a way that one portion of the picture plane looks heavier than the other, but balance still remains. The image shows asymmetrical balance. The buildings in the Space Needle are heavier on the left, but the smaller buildings in the river help to balance the composition. The next principle is gradation. Gradation is a subtle change from different tones of color, or different colors entirely. It creates interest and movement through a shape, drawing your eye along the shape. The next principle is repetition. Repetition is an element that is repeated in an image. Repetition that has variation is more interesting than repetition that doesn't. The next principle is contrast. Contrast is when 2 or more elements are put in opposition. This can be through contrasting color, light and dark, black and white, big and small, and other types of opposing elements. The next principle is harmony. Harmony combines similar elements in an image. It can be done through color or similar forms. The next principle is dominance. Dominance makes specific elements in a composition stick out more than others. It gives the image interest and keeps it from getting boring. Inserting a dominant direction, size, or shape are ways to create dominance. The next principle is rhythm. Rhythm is the path that your eye follows through a composition. In this image, your eye follows the steps around the staircase by making measured jumps from step to step. The next principle is unity and variety. Unity and variety are used together in compositions to create a feeling of completeness. Unity is only achieved by having elements that are similar, but variety keeps the composition from getting boring by allowing for different elements that are related, but not the same. In the image, all of the parts are related to cameras. They are unified in their subject, but there's a variety because they aren't all the same part, color, or size. Now it's your turn. Using what you've learned about the elements and principles of design, identify which ones are being used in this composition.